Kenneth Katzman now, who is a senior fellow at the Soufan Center. He's also a former senior analyst with the Congressional Research Service. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Thanks so much for being with us here on Al Jazeera. First of all, I want to get your thoughts on what you made of JD Vance and Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner's comments earlier. They all seemed extremely positive, very optimistic about where the ceasefire is at the moment. Are you as optimistic?
Well, thank you, Tom. Unfortunately, I'm not as optimistic. And, I think their mission is mainly to persuade Netanyahu to be patient, allow more time, don't overreact to ceasefire violations, trust the Trump team to implement the rest of the peace plan, which will get Netanyahu to his objective, which is a disarmed Hamas with no role in Gaza. I think JD Vance's mission, the Trump team's mission, was to lower the temperature, get Netanyahu to stand down, and give them a chance. But no, I'm not as optimistic. And I think any clear reading, any plain reading of the statements coming out from Hamas leaders, Nazal and others, indicates that Hamas has no intention of disarming, no intention of even abandoning a role in Gaza. Now Hamas is even demanding some authority to make appointments to this Palestinian governing council, which was not in the plan. So I really see no evidence that Hamas is going to abide by the rest of the plan. I think Hamas's plan is to regroup and to rearm.
Okay, so I guess what are the consequences of this if it does play out like you're saying? I mean, it seems like the US is on one side determined just to forge ahead regardless of what is happening in phase one to go ahead with phase two. So what happens when it does do that?
Well, the problem is the Trump team feels that they will get international forces to go in and make Hamas disarm, and that's not going to happen. These countries, Indonesia, Turkey, others, they're not going to send forces in to fight Hamas. They're only going to send forces in if Hamas agrees already to disarm. So the thinking on the Trump team, I think, is very unrealistic right now. And so what happens when you're asking me what the prognosis is, obviously, Netanyahu is not going to let Hamas just stay there and regroup and go back to the tunnels and rebuild rockets and mortars and firearms and armaments. At some point, he will lose patience and he will send the IDF back in to clean out the Hamas.
So how do we avoid that from happening then?
Well, the only way to avoid it from happening is to assure pressure the Arab states to make sure Hamas complies, agrees to the rest of the plan, and complies with it. Or they will be kicked out, to maybe persuade Qatar to kick out Hamas, persuade Erdogan to kick out the Hamas leaders, persuade the Arab states, the Muslim states, that this is over. You have to disarm. There's no alternative.
There's also heavy criticism that Israel hasn't lived up to its side of the agreement either. Just taking aid as one example, the blocking of aid, especially through the Rafah crossing, from getting in.
Well, that's true. But they did it, I think, in response to some violations of the ceasefire by Hamas. But the issue is Netanyahu has accepted the entire peace plan. Hamas has not. They accepted part of the peace plan and said they will negotiate on the rest of it.
But isn't that on Donald Trump and the rest of the mediators? Because the plan, that 20-point plan, was so vague and lacked so much detail, and to put it out there in the way that it was portrayed by Donald Trump in Sharm el-Sheikh with the peace in the Middle East. I mean, he basically said it's all said and done, but there was so little detail in there that has allowed all of the circumstances, all the concerns that you have to come bubbling back to the surface.
Well, I agree. And, Mr. Trump's comments were very much like George W. Bush's mission accomplished, after Saddam was pushed out of Iraq, out of power in Iraq. The same thing, too optimistic, premature. Hamas has not accepted all phases of the peace plan. We don't have peace in the Middle East. And Hamas, I'm just taking from the comments of Hamas leaders that they have no intention of disarming at all. They still want to keep Fatah out, other Palestinian groups out from governing, from securing Gaza. They want to continue to determine how the Palestinian national movement evolves into resistance, not negotiations, but resistance. And they completely do not accept Chairman Arafat's entire strategy of getting what you want through negotiation and abandoning armed conflict. They completely do not accept it.
Kenneth Katzman, we'll leave it there for the moment, but thank you very much for talking with us. Great to get your insights.
Thank you.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.